Lots of kids here today. Let's start with Trenton Thompson, who had Chauncey Rivers all over him, and just go down the list. There were a slew of kids, including quarterbacks, but Trenton was the big fish today, or is the big fish today.
Yeah, I mean, you can't start off with anybody else other than Trenton. I mean, as soon as he walked in, I mean, well, I don't want to say him because he didn't walk in. He got driven in on a golf cart. I mean, I was here and I saw his team kind of walking off the bus and here at Butts-Mehre, and next thing you know, Trenton's not there. 2 minutes later, here comes Trenton on a golf cart getting rode up in the chariot, getting a lot of love from the get-go, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a top target for Georgia. Been around Coach Rocker. I mean, Bobo, all of them, Pruitt, Scher, Richt. I mean, all the guys talked to him. B-Mac. He's gotten a lot of love, and he'll be back on Saturday for the camp as well. He will not work out there either, but I mean, the kid looks good. I mean, I kind of, we can't really talk to him much here, but just sizing him up and standing next to him and seeing him, very little body fat. I mean, arms have gotten bigger, big chest, looks to be in fairly good shape for a kid 310 pounds or so, and he knows that he's loved here. And he has to feel that today.
Well, I guess the big thing with Trenton, we both seen him play live. He's not going to camp at these sort of things anymore, understandably, I think. But I guess people just want to know, is there something for Georgia to be concerned about anytime you're talking about Auburn, Alabama, or whoever? And then the other thing is, what is the timetable with Trenton as far as him deciding what he wants to do?
I think you always have to have some concern because kids are visiting other schools. Anything can happen at any time. So, but at the same time, I say this, that Georgia is still in very good shape. I mean, for a kid not publicly committed to Georgia, not saying he's a silent, but I'm just saying publicly he's still taking his trips, but he still consistently names Georgia as his top school. It's been that way since they offered a year and a half ago now first. So I think Georgia's in very good shape. They're in the driver's seat. I would still keep my pick that he signs with Georgia right now. But you have to watch schools like Bama and Auburn. Those two, maybe FSU is another school you have to keep an eye on. But as far as his decision, likely late in the process. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take free official visits. I think he wants to take advantage of that. He wants to be at different places, and Georgia may or may not get one of those. But he'll be in Athens plenty of times between now and signing day. And he'll probably be either an All-American game or a signing day guy, in 2015.
In my opinion, at this stage, Georgia's got 12 commits this class so far at this second.
It's been a big week.
It has been a big week. The only weakness, they have recruited pretty well. The only weakness is really left tackle. Well, they got a shot today to attract one of the better left tackles in the country to Georgia, Chuma Edoga from McEachern. When we came up, we were both going back and forth. Will Georgia, sort of shadow him all day long? Will he work out, this, that, and the other? As it turns out, he was watching his team, and guess who was with him? I don't know if it was 100% of the day, but 85%, Will Friend.
It's been quite often, but with both Chuma and Julian Rochester, 2016 kid. I mean,
about both, but Chuma first.
But Chuma first for sure. I mean, he was there, and I think you have to. I mean, you want to give yourself a shot, and like I said on the porch many times, Georgia's not giving up here. They're staying in contact. They're still going to make their phone calls when they can. They'll be back to see him on the road in September. They're going to get him here whenever they can. When he is here, they're going to do all they can to attract him to their school. And I think he knows there's a chance to play early at tackle at Georgia. And they're trying to use that to their advantage. Of course, being an in-state school, too, being close to home. Georgia's in the game. It's going to take a lot, I think, to change his mind on USC. But he's completely, been open with me saying that he will take official visits, and one probably to Georgia.
But yeah, what would it take? I mean, is it the realization for Chuma? Where is Georgia in the structure for him right now? Is it USC and then everybody, or?
I think Georgia would be second. I mean, it's never been. I mean, for me, Chuma played the game a little bit with the Tennessee thing. Yeah. He was always pretty upfront with me behind the scenes about Tennessee not really being as high maybe as he let it on to be thought. Georgia has been in the thick of it for some time. I really think it's USC, Georgia, then everybody else. I mean, I think Georgia is the next team, even though there is a pretty good gap in my mind between SC and Georgia.
And there's, if kids committed, I think that speaks volumes. But at the same time, if you're Georgia, what do you have to do? Just show him the depth chart or give him as much love as possible? He laughed a lot today with Will Friend. Had a good time, it seemed.
I think he's comfortable here. I mean, when you see him around, I mean, and
has anyone never has anyone not been comfortable? That's not Georgia's problem, it doesn't seem like. Their problem is kind of nailing down those tackles. Mitch Hyatt seems very firm to Clemson right now, even though he's having a tough time gaining weight. Chuma might be a slightly, I don't know if he's a better prospect. That's kind of your call. But he certainly looks the part right now, a little bit more maybe than Mitch does this second. That's my word. But what does Georgia have to do? I mean, it's not about comfortability. Mark Richt's never going to make anyone uncomfortable, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know if there is one thing you can just like flip a switch and change things. I mean, I think it goes back to just being consistent and make him believe in his future in Athens. I mean, that he can be successful, that he can be in the NFL. And Chuma may want to do his own thing, go out west. I mean, he has family in Los Angeles. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to say specifically with him. He's a very quiet, kind of guarded kid. Doesn't give a lot of information out there, but he's a kid that I think that wants to be a true believer in that school, on the field, off the field. Who'll be coaching him, how they'll develop him, how they can get him into the league, and maybe I think also educational programs too play into it for Chuma. So I think it's going to be Georgia's being consistent, and I think it's, again, building that bond. Their chance to build that bond is a lot better being 2.5 hours away than being all the way across the country at USC.
What's the challenge for SC, though? I mean, if the reality is, with social media the way that it is, you can still stay in touch with people, but he can easily get to Georgia. If you're SC, you've got to be slightly concerned about that.
There's no doubt about it. I think even when he committed, they knew from the beginning that it wasn't over, for him. Knowing that
so for SC, is it more that they have to hold on more than anything else?
So. Yeah, I mean, they're not sitting there in their rocking chair with their feet propped up saying we got Chuma Edoga locked in by any means. They still have to recruit the same way like he wasn't committed in the first place. So they know they have a lot of work still to do with Chuma Edoga.
A lot of quarterbacks here today.
Young.
And you can just rattle through the list right now if you'd like. Maybe start with what we were talking to McKeitron a second ago. A lot of time for their quarterback coach's son. Spent a lot of time with, not a lot of time, spent time when he wasn't playing.
A lot of time, which probably means something. And I think he's been the top guy.
Does he have a name
today? Bailey Hockman. The head coach is Cal Hockman. Yeah, I mean, Bailey is a good quarterback, man. He's 6'2"ish, left-hander. Really sees the field well, makes good decisions. I mean, 2017 from McKeitron High School. Bobo's had him in the golf cart. He's been to see Coach Richt in the office a little bit during the lunch break. I mean, he's been an accurate passer. Georgia's on him. Now, have they offered? I don't think so yet, but will one come down the road? I think it's very, very possible.
So he'll be a sophomore.
He'll be a sophomore. You have another kid out here, too, sophomore, rising sophomore, Jake Fromm from Houston County. In that 6'2" range, played baseball on their state championship team this year. Started quarterback for him as a freshman last fall. Right-handed kid this time. A live arm. Doesn't spin it as well, not quite as sharp today as Bailey in my mind. But, again, Marshall's offered him. Cincinnati's offered him. He's a kid on the up and up on the recruiting charts here in Georgia. I mentioned one other kid, too, for sure, Trevor Lawrence, only a rising freshman. So 2018 from Cartersville High School, already close to 6'4". I've had this kid at the MVP camp, and I've gotten to know him a little bit over the past month and a half or so at different camps. And what impressed me the most about Trevor, only being 14, is just his poise, his demeanor. I mean, he's mature for his age. Another guy that Bobo's had his eye on, all three of those guys really today, but the best today has been Bailey in my eyes.
Two observations here. Number one, Bryce Ramsey got his offer from Georgia as a sophomore going into his junior year. So if you're a family, this is Bryce Ramsey. This is a national guy. If you're a family member of a quarterback, you should have some patience in general. Number two, that we are talking about 14-year-old kids is kind of a double-edged sword. That's really young to project what a young man will be, period, when they're 18, let alone as an athlete. And number two, I feel like to some degree, as uncomfortable as it is, or just odd, we're getting pushed into this, it almost feels like, because, they're here and they're getting attention from Georgia. I mean, Georgia's recruiting them, which means everybody else will too.
And he's good. I mean, you're going to stand out, when you're 6'4", and you can throw the ball the way he does. He was an East Bay Middle School All-American. He's playing on the national 7-on-7 team in Florida next week. I mean, he's already getting attention from Tennessee, from Georgia. I mean, he's going to push for that starting job as a freshman this year against a senior at Cartersville. I mean,
that's a football school. That's not.
It is crazy talking about a kid, but when a kid has those kind of tools, he's a kid to kind of put in the back of your mind and kind of watch him develop the next 3 or 4
Well,
years.
I remember this isn't quarterback. I remember you called me and said, "There's a kid at Troop. This kid is the real deal. He's in 9th grade. His name's Reuben Foster. You know, this kid is the real deal." And I mean, Reuben was the real deal.
I'm not saying this kid's Reuben Foster, but because Reuben was a special player in my mind. But this kid has a chance. I mean,
but the thing about it is though, you know, this really shouldn't be talking about this. Just a 1-minute thing on it though. Everything is so advanced. I mean, we didn't have this in high school, and now everybody does, and it accelerates the process. I worry though, if it's going too fast, just in general.
I think so. I mean, it's getting to become almost basketball-like, you know, and I really want to take it back, you know, and again, you put it on George a little bit for showing these kids attention. Do you think it just happened by coincidence? McEachern was here today. Houston County was here today. Cartersville was here today. No. Was it a coincidence that McEachern played Houston County the first game and Bobo was right there in the backfield the entire game? No. It's because Georgia wants to see these guys now and start recruiting these guys now. So when they do it, we have to follow.
Well, and so, you know.
Sometimes we do it and they follow us. So, I mean, it works both ways.
Well, that was just we got kind of sidetracked on the quarterbacks, but it was a legitimate day, and in 3 years we'll look back on this and say, okay, well, you know, they were there when they were.
I feel very confident. 3 surefire high-level D1 kids, barring injury. 3 surefire ACC, SEC type of guys.
So not too far necessarily from Ramsey, Eddie Prince, who wound up at Missouri, Jonathan McCrary wound up at Vanderbilt, and obviously Bryce Ramsey at Georgia. So long way away, but in 2010 it seemed like a long way away with that group. So
It did.
okay, Dean Legge and Chad Simmons.